Do you remember the first time you got high? I do, and we're gonna talk about it. What's up, YouTube? So as you can see from the title of the video, do you remember the first time you got high? I do, and we're gonna talk about it. So I think I was 14 years old. Yeah, I was 14 because this was right before my mom sent me to live with my dad at 15. And I had just started messing around with drugs. You know, me and my friends was messing around with drugs. So the way this story starts is I had a buddy, his name was Jared, right? So his mom smoked weed. His mom liked to smoke weed. Nothing wrong with weed, right? But they say it's a gateway drug, and that was true for me because this was the first time I really got high. Intentionally on anything. So he ended up finding out where his mom kept his weed stash, her weed stash, and he was at home alone all the time because she was in the what do you call it, the catering. She was a waitress at a place called Denny's. So she would work all different types of shifts. So a lot of times my buddy Jared would be home alone. Him and his brother would be home alone, right? He ended up finding out where she kept her little weed stash. And he told me about it. He's like, bro, man, I know where my mom keeps her weed. We need to dip in and take a little bit out of it. And none of us had ever smoked weed at this point or really done any type of drugs at this point. So I'm like, yeah, you know, being the wild motherfucker I am, guys, I've always been this way. I'm like, yeah, gassing him up, man, take some out of it. She won't notice, right? She won't notice. So he takes some out of it, enough for a joint or whatever. And this is funny as hell, guys, because we didn't know what the hell we was doing. Now this was back, I said I was 14, so this was in 2004. This was really before the internet was really a big thing. So it wasn't, you couldn't really Google stuff like you can today. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I used to play video games like a lot of kids did. And the thing about the internet is I would get these magazines. Now you can just get on the internet for all your gaming information and stuff. Back then, you would get magazines and stuff in the mail. So I had all these gaming magazines. I tore a sheet out of the gaming magazine and used it for rolling paper. I tore like a little piece off that would be enough for a rolling paper, right? So I'm rolling this damn weed up in magazine paper. It had ink, colored ink, and all kinds of stuff in it, man. So I'm rolling this joint. It was the most pitiful looking joint you ever seen in your life, but it worked, right? So we go up to a church. I know this is bad, guys, but this is just the facts of what happened. You know, I lived right by a church, right? So when he got the weed, he came to my house. We lived like 7 blocks away from each other. So he rode his bike over to my house. He let me know he had the weed. I'm like, all right, cool. We go in my room, get the notebook paper or the magazine paper. I'll roll it. We head to the church where we're away from people because this church had a park that we used to go to all the time. So we're at the park and we spark this, you know, this pitiful ass joint up, right? And tasted like shit, man. We're smoking ink, the thick ass notebook paper. You know, it's burning my throat. But we're inhaling the weed nonetheless, right? So I start getting high. And I'm blazed, guys. I'm blazed out of my mind. And then I start getting paranoid. I'm like, shit, my mom's gonna know I'm high because my mom was home. I'm like, she's gonna know I'm fucking high, man. So like, what am I gonna do? And the way my room was when we walked in our house, my room was as soon as you walked in the front door to the right. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna walk in and cut off to my room real quick and just go to sleep this shit off. I don't want my mom finding out. You know, I was scared to death what she would do. So I cut off to my room. My plan's going accordingly to plan. And then my mom comes in there. As soon as I walk in the house, 5 minutes later, my mom comes in and she's looking me dead in the face. And she's like, hey, walk to the store and go grab us some Coke. She gave me some money. I'm like, okay. You know, I'm like, fuck, I hope she don't notice I'm high. So she gives me the money. I walk to the store. The store was like 2 or 3 blocks away, you know, whatever. I was used to walking all over the town anyway. So I go to the store, get the drinks. This was the longest walk I've ever had in my life. Because, you know, being high, like, it's almost like time slows down, right? When you're high on marijuana anyway. So I'm like walking to the gas station. I go to get these Cokes. I'm trying to talk to the gas clerk, and I'm like slipping up on my words and shit. I get the Coke, and on the way back home, I'm still high. You know, it only been like 30 minutes. So I'm thinking, shit, man, I know my mom's gonna notice something. So I just walk in, I take the Cokes to the living room, and I put them whatever, and I yell at Mom, hey, I got your Coke, whatever, and go back to my room. And that was pretty much the end of that situation. I didn't get caught, but this had turned into a regular situation, right? This had turned into a regular thing. Once he knew he could dip into his mama's sack and steal weed, we started doing it all the time. We was smoking at his house, we was smoking at my house. We had a couple other friends that liked to smoke. We would go to their house. So I turned into a little pothead at 14 years old. And it stayed that way for a long time. And it didn't take long after that for me to start messing with pain pills and graduate to other things. So the whole theory about the marijuana being a gateway drug, I think that's true. It was true for me anyways. Now, I'm not saying that marijuana needs to be illegal. If alcohol is legal, I mean, come on now, marijuana needs to be legal too. And if used responsibly, there's nothing wrong with marijuana. I've never really seen nobody rob somebody high, being on marijuana, or, fiend for marijuana so bad that they're willing to steal from their grandmother or some shit, you know what I'm saying? So I'm an advocate for marijuana. I don't like marijuana. Marijuana is not my drug of choice. But being a young kid like that, it was exciting, you know what I mean? You know how it goes. But as soon as I graduated to opiates, I knew that I liked the opiates. I realized I don't like weed that much. I really like this. And then, I was drinking and my drug addiction in general journey started when I was 14, 15. And it just went from there and has lasted damn near my whole life. But yeah, hey guys, that's the first time I got high. And I remember it clear as day. That was the first time I got high. But anyways, man, I just wanted to drop this quick story on you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like this story. And you already know what it is, man. I'm just a guy that decided to get on YouTube and share his life with the world. And as always, peace out.